Welcome again to my channel. This is Trev from Trevessence, and today we are going to get into some news items of the week. But before we do that, if you're new here, a very special welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are a returning traveler, I want to say thank you for your continued support. Authorities are still trying to figure out the identities of two men who were found in the wheel well of a JetBlue airplane at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport 2 weeks ago. At first, it was reported that the men were Jamaicans, but upon further investigations, it is believed that the men may have come from another country. The story that they may have come from Jamaica came about because Jamaica was the last country that the plane flew from before it came into America, having flown from Kingston, Jamaica to New York, then to Salt Lake City, back to New York, and then to Fort Lauderdale, where the bodies were found. On last check, authorities were looking into the men being from the Dominican Republic, and at this time, two young men are missing from the Dominican Republic, and they are suspecting that these may be the men. We're going to continue to follow this story, and when we get more information, we'll be sure to bring it to you. A ceasefire deal has finally been brokered between Israel and Hamas. This deal has been in negotiations between the Biden administration and the two for the last 8 months. There has been fierce fighting between Israel and Hamas over the last 15 months, and this all started when Hamas attacked a music festival in Israel in October of 2023. During that attack, over 1,200 Israelis were massacred. In Israel's response, over 42,000 Palestinians have lost their lives. The death and destruction became a focal point in the recent U.S. elections, so much so that pro-Palestinian groups were ordering people not to vote for the current administration due to what they considered to be their lackluster attitude towards the massacre going on in Palestine. And while we welcome the ceasefire, we are hoping to see the remaining hostages set free. Of the over 200 people who were taken hostage by Palestinian rebels in October of 2023, only about 100 remain. Several have been released and others have been killed in the conflict. And in other news, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has ordered that the flags in that state be returned to full mast for the upcoming inauguration of the 47th president, Donald Trump. Flags on federal buildings are currently being flown at half-staff in remembrance of President Jimmy Carter, who passed away late in December. Now it is customary for the flags to remain at half-staff for 30 days following the passing of any president. But in recent days, Donald Trump has stated his displeasure at having the flags at half-staff during his inauguration. And clearly, Greg Abbott has buckled under the pressure to please Donald Trump than to uphold common decency. He has ordered that the flags be returned to full mast for the inauguration and then returned to half-staff after the inauguration, and for them to remain that way until the 30 days of mourning for President Jimmy Carter has been completed. Now, if this is not heights of disrespect for President Carter and the Carter family, America, and the rule of law, I don't know what is. And while we're on the note of inauguration, Michelle Obama has made it clear that she will not be attending the inauguration of the 47th president. The former First Lady, who was also notably absent from President Jimmy Carter's funeral services last week, has made it clear that she will not be attending the inauguration of Donald Trump. And though she cited prior obligations for her absence last week, many are suspecting that the seating arrangements, which would have put her directly beside Donald Trump, was the reason she decided not to go. And for her saying she will not be attending the inauguration on Monday, many have come out with their proverbial whips, claiming that it is a disrespect to the honor of the presidency. It is a disrespect to America. But I didn't see people with this same energy when Donald Trump himself refused to attend the inauguration of Joe Biden, last inauguration, because he had lost the election. And since you all did not have the same energy for an incoming president to attend the inauguration of his successor, I don't want to hear anyone who is talking about Michelle Obama. She was the first lady and she was not the president. President Obama has stated that he will be attending the inauguration, and that should be enough. And while we are on politics, let's talk about the tense exchange between Representative Jasmin Crockett and Nancy Mace in Parliament 2 days ago. During a hearing a few days ago, Representatives Jasmin Crockett from Texas and Nancy Mace from South Carolina had a tense verbal exchange when Jasmin Crockett, during her delivery, used the word child as it pertains to a particular disregard for certain content. To this, Nancy Mace took offense and claimed that Jasmin Crockett was calling her a child. And those of you who are familiar with Southern talk, you know the phrase a child is a short form of saying child police as an informal dismissal or astonishment. But Nancy Mace, being Nancy Mace, she interpreted it how she wanted to, because she wanted to create a scene and play the victim card. And while we are at it, confirmation hearings continue on Capitol Hill. Yesterday, we saw Pam Bondi out of Florida being grilled on Capitol Hill as she attempts to snag the coveted position of Attorney General. She was asked repeatedly whether her loyalty to Donald Trump would supersede her obligation to the office and to the American people. To which she says, I will not politicize that office. But in the same breath, she also says, it would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything. Well, she is the one who the president will be depending on to help him prosecute those he considers to be political enemies. He himself has not ruled out a possible plot to go after people who were on the January 6th committee, Jack Smith, and others who prosecuted him for his role in the insurrection that occurred at the Capitol on January 6th of 2021. And with his ultra-loyalist Kash Patel at the head of the FBI, there is no telling what will happen. But we will continue to follow these stories, and as we get more information, we'll be sure to bring it to you. And finally today, President Biden has presented his final address to the nation from the Oval Office. And in his almost 30 minutes address to the nation, President Biden touted his accomplishments and outlined the threats that the oligarchy that is taking over poses to America. President Biden, who has spent over 50 years in politics, has given his final speech at the age of 82, the oldest of any president to be exiting the Oval Office. We wish him well as he embraces the goodwill of old age. That's going to be it from me for today. Until next time, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters.